All right, let's get right into it. Every single time you slice a tomato or bite into an apple, you're tapping into a secret history. It's a story of transformation that's been thousands of years in the making, and it's written in the very genes of the food on your plate. What we eat today is just a world away from what our ancestors ever would have found in the wild.
I mean, really think about that for a second. It's the perfect summer treat, right? But where did the seeds go? How does that even happen? It kind of feels like magic, but it's actually this incredible story of human ingenuity and our growing understanding of plant genetics. It's probably one of the best examples of how we've been quietly shaping our food for centuries.
And right here, you can see the before and after perfectly. On the left, that's a traditional watermelon, full of seeds. Botanists would call that diploid. Then on the right, you've got the super convenient, seedless version we all look for in the store, which is called triploid. Now, this wasn't some happy accident of nature. It was the result of a very deliberate, very scientific process. So the real question is, how did we get from point A to point B? Well, in this explainer, we are going to trace that entire journey. We're going to start with the hidden history of our food, see how humanity gave nature a helping hand, explore the modern genetic toolkit we have today, introduce the whole idea of transgenic plants, and then, finally, we'll touch on the big debate over GMOs. So, first up, our food's hidden history. Here's the thing. The fruits and vegetables in your kitchen are basically world travelers that look almost nothing like their wild ancestors. Seriously, they've been on this incredible journey to get to your plate. And check this out. Our dinner plates are basically world maps. Corn started its journey in what is now Mexico. Potatoes and tomatoes, they're from Peru. Eggplant and radishes from China. Carrots from the regions of Punjab and Kashmir. I mean, these plants were adopted and adapted over centuries by people in totally different parts of the world, slowly shaping them into the foods we recognize today. So how did this huge transformation happen? Well, it really boils down to two powerful forces working together. First, you've got natural selection. Nature's a tough boss, It only favors the plants that are tough enough to survive drought, disease, and pests. Only the strongest get to reproduce. But then, at some point, humans stepped in. We added a whole new layer, human selection. We didn't just want plants that survived, we wanted plants that tasted good, that were bigger, and were easier to harvest. And that leads us right here, to humanity's helping hand. This is the moment we shifted from just picking the best-looking plants to actively, deliberately breeding them to create something new and hopefully something better. Now, this single most important raw material for any plant breeder is simple. It's options. And for a plant breeder, those options come from genetic diversity. Think of it like a giant box of Legos. The more different kinds of bricks you have, different colors, sizes, shapes, the more amazing stuff you can build. It's the exact same for crops. And if you want to understand just how crucial that diversity is, just look at this place. Deep inside a mountain in Norway, you'll find the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. It's basically a giant frozen underground fortress designed to store seeds from pretty much every food crop on Earth. It's like a Noah's Ark for plants, a global backup drive, making sure we never lose the genetic diversity we might need to fight a future disease or create a crop that can survive a drought. Because when you lose that diversity, the consequences, well, they can be catastrophic. The Irish potato famine in the 1800s is the ultimate tragic cautionary tale. Ireland was almost completely dependent on a single variety of potato called the lumper. That meant it had almost no genetic diversity. So when a new disease, a potato blight, showed up, there was no backup plan. The blight just ripped through the crop, wiping it out and leading to mass starvation. It's a really stark reminder of why we can't put all our eggs or all our potatoes in one genetic basket. So how have these ideas evolved? I mean, early farmers were incredibly patient, but modern science has developed a much more precise, way more powerful toolkit for crafting the perfect crop. So how does this actually work today? Let's take a tomato as an example. Say you have one type that grows a ton of tomatoes, but they taste kind of bland. And you have another that tastes amazing, but barely produces any fruit. So you cross them. Their first-generation kids, the F1, will all be pretty uniform. But the real magic happens in the next generation, the F2. This is where all the hidden genes from the parents get reshuffled. It's like a massive genetic lottery. You might grow thousands of plants, and each one is different. Out of that huge population, you have to painstakingly find the handful that got the best of both worlds. And then you do it again and again for 6 to 10 generations until those great new traits are locked in. It's a long, patient game of statistics and observation. Now, for other crops, like corn, the strategy is totally different. We use a trick called hybrid vigor. I know this diagram is in French, so don't worry, let me walk you through it. On the left and right, you see two different parent corn plants. What breeders do is they inbreed these lines for generations.
Now, this actually makes them weaker, but it also makes them genetically pure for certain traits. But, and this is the amazing part, when you cross those two weakened pure parent lines, their offspring in the middle, that F1 hybrid, is incredibly strong, productive, and uniform. It's way stronger than either of its parents. This is the reason why most commercial farmers buy brand new hybrid seeds every single year.
And all of this brings us to the next chapter in our story, the introduction of transgenic plants. This is the latest, and you could definitely say the most controversial tool we've added to this long history of shaping the genetics of our food.
So, what exactly is a transgenic plant? You've probably heard the term GMO, right? Genetically modified organism. Well, this is the technical definition. It's a plant where scientists have used genetic engineering to take a specific gene from a totally different species and insert it. This completely breaks the old rules of breeding. You're not just crossing a tomato with another tomato anymore. You could, for instance, take a gene from a soil bacterium that naturally produces an insecticide and put that gene directly into a corn plant's DNA. Just like that, the corn has a brand new, built-in defense system.
And the potential uses for this technology are just huge. They pretty much fall into three big categories. First, you've got agronomic traits, things that help farmers, like making crops resistant to pests or able to tolerate weed killers. Second, there are consumer-focused traits, like engineering foods to have more vitamins or to last longer on the shelf. And then there's this third wild category, industrial uses, like turning plants into tiny factories that can produce things like vaccines or antibodies.
But of course, a technology this powerful comes with a really powerful debate. So let's take a balanced look at the key risks and rewards that fuel this whole conversation. The goal here is just to understand the questions that are being asked, not to pick a side.
Generally, the concerns fall into two main buckets. On one side, you have the indirect risks. These are the bigger picture societal worries. Things like, could GMOs lead to a few giant companies controlling our food supply? Or could they create superweeds or resistant pests? Then on the other side, you have the direct risks. These are more about the plants themselves. Could they accidentally create new allergens? Could they harm other species, like butterflies? Or could these new genes escape into the wild?
Now, it's really important to note that according to the source material, a massive body of scientific research has suggested that transgenic plants pose no more risk to our health or the environment than the plants we've made through traditional breeding. But at the same time, it also acknowledges that the profound societal and ethical questions this technology brings up absolutely deserve our careful thought and reflection.
So when you step back and look at the whole story, from our ancestors picking the plumpest wild grains, all the way to modern scientists editing plant DNA, this journey with genetics has literally built our civilization. We've gone from being passive observers of nature to active authors of the genetic code on our plates. The toolkit just keeps getting more powerful, and the question for our future is no longer can we change our food, but how and what will we choose to create next?